Hey folks, welcome back to Penalty Box Woodshop. Today I'm going to show you how to make some fun yet easy to build outdoor games. I'm going to show you how to make a simple set of cornhole boards using basic woodworking tools. I'll also show you how to make the golf ball ladder game, which uses PVC pipes and boluses made from golf balls. Now make sure you stick around towards the end of the video because I'm going to show you some really cool extras that I added to the cornhole boards, as well as a storage solution that keeps all of these games together in one place. So let's get started. For the frames of the cornhole boards, you will need 4 standard 2x4x8s. Whenever I use dimensional lumber, I like to cut a 1/4 inch off each edge to remove the rounded edges and give them more of a finished look. Over at the miter saw, I cut 4 boards at 48 inches long, 4 at 21 inches long, and 4 at 13 inches long. Next, using my pocket hole jig, I drilled pocket holes in each end of the 21-inch boards. If you don't have a pocket hole jig, you can just pre-drill and secure the frame with 3-inch screws. After that, I drilled pocket holes down one side of each 21-inch and 48-inch board. These pocket holes would be to attach the frame once it's assembled to the plywood. For the tops of each cornhole board, you will need a 48-inch by 24-inch piece of 3/4 inch plywood. I placed both pieces of plywood together and clamped them, ensuring that the edges were all flush. At my local big box store, they have a section where these pieces are pre-cut to these exact dimensions, which made it a lot easier for this project, so be sure to check around and ask before buying a full sheet. To lay out the holes, I measured and marked 9 inches from the top of the plywood, and then measured and marked 12 inches from the side. I used my T-square to intersect these lines to know where the center of my circle will be. The hole needs to be 6 inches in diameter, so I'm using a piece of plastic that's exactly 3 inches from the first and last hole. I nailed a small finish nail into the center mark and used a pencil to make a perfect 6-inch circle. With a 1/2 inch drill bit, I drilled a hole for a place to start cutting with my jigsaw. Using my cordless jigsaw, I carefully cut on the line until the circle was removed. Stacking the boards together allows you to cut both holes at once and ensures that they are both identical. If you plan on making a lot of these boards, I would recommend purchasing a 6-inch hole saw bit. They are inexpensive and makes this process easy and accurate. I'll add a link in the description section below if you want to check one out. I'll also add a link to all the other tools and materials that I use in this video. Anytime you use those links, it supports the channel and I always and greatly appreciate it. After the holes are cut, you can start to assemble the frames for each board. I applied glue to the 21-inch pieces, checked for square, and attached them to the 48-inch pieces. With the frame assembled, I then glued and attached it to the plywood top. Next, I grabbed the 13-inch long boards and made intersecting marks at 2 inches from one end and 1 at half the width of the board. Where the lines intersect, I drilled a 3/8 inch hole on each leg. Next, place the leg against the frame where it will be installed and use the already drilled hole as a guide to drill the matching hole into the side of the frame. This is the easiest way that I have found to drill accurate and matching holes on the legs and frame. Next, use a roll of tape and trace a rounded edge around the 13-inch boards. This will be done only on the end of the board where the hole was drilled. I then used the jigsaw to round the edges of each board. Now you can attach the legs to the frame using 3/8 inch by 4 inch long carriage bolts with wing nuts and washers. With the legs attached, I laid the board on a flat table and extended one leg so that it was hanging off the side of the table. I then used a paint bucket to prop up the board so that the top of the board was 12 inches from the surface. Now I can use a pencil to mark the proper angle for the leg. Once one leg was marked, I did the same thing for the second leg and then removed them both from the boards. Over at the miter saw, I used my shadow guide to line up the proper angle and cut both the legs at the mark, then reattach them to the boards. I used my flush cut bit and cordless router to flush cut any of the plywood that was slightly hanging over the frame. This can also be done with a sander if you don't have a flush cut bit. Next, I took a roundover bit and rounded over all the edges on the boards, including the top and bottom edge of the circle. A quick sanding to 220 grit and these boards were ready for a finish. I grabbed the shop helper, opened the door in the shop, and with his help applied polyurethane to the entire boards. After that coat had dried, I buffed the boards with triple-aught steel wool and reapplied a second and third coat on the boards. While the boards were drying, I started the super simple golf ball ladder game. The entire frame is made of 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and you will need 5 pieces 2 feet in length and 8 pieces 1 foot in length. I made 2 ladders, so I doubled up on these pieces and made all the cuts using my miter saw and a stop block. 2 ladders are not required for this game, but it's helpful when you're playing in teams of 2. To assemble the ladder, you will need 2 3/4 inch PVC 90s and 6 3/4 inch PVC Ts, as well as the 2 foot and 1 foot pieces that you just cut. Attach a 90 to both ends of one of the 2 foot pieces, then attach the 1 foot pieces down the rungs with a T in between each piece and a 2 foot rung across. Once at the bottom, attach the Ts for the feet and attach one 2 foot piece on the back and one 1 foot piece on the front. I grabbed 8 golf balls from my golf bag and drilled a 1/4 inch hole in each of them. Be sure to clamp the golf balls in a safe manner while drilling them. Once the holes were drilled, I moved to the backyard and painted half the balls one color and the other half a different color. I also painted the top and bottom rungs of each of the ladder. While the paint was drying, I moved back to the cornhole boards and began to attach the accessories and hardware. I clamped the boards together with the bottoms facing each other and installed 2 clasps on each long end of the boards. These are pretty simple little clasps that I chose so that I could use some wire or twist ties through the lock holes to ensure that they do not open while transporting or storing. Once those were attached, I flipped the boards upright and attached a metal scoreboard to the back of one of the boards. I found this one for cheap on Amazon, and I'll leave a link for it in the description section below. It's easy to attach, and I just used a few magnets from the shop as score markers. I also found some pretty cheap battery-operated LED lights on Amazon and thought they would be a cool feature on the boards. I've seen some pretty in-depth installation of LED lights on cornhole boards, but I decided to go pretty simple on these. I drilled a hole in the back of the boards just big enough for the lights to fit through, and then attached the lights around the outside of the boards with some plastic clips. I had to add some tape to the ends of the lights to prevent them from slipping through the clips, but these worked really well. Once those were installed, the cornhole boards were complete and ready to go. With the golf balls dried, I used paracord cut in 20-inch pieces to form the boluses. I just ran the rope through the golf balls and secured a knot on both ends to make the boluses. I placed the painted rungs back in the ladder and gave it a try. For this game, you stand 15 feet from the ladder and each player gets 2 boluses. Wrapping the bolus around the top rung is 1 point, the middle rung is 2 points, and the bottom rung is 3 points. First person to 21 wins. And trust me, it's not as easy as it looks. The cornhole boards sit 30 feet from each other, and you get 3 points if the bag goes in the hole and 1 point if a bag lands and stays on the board. You played this game to 21 as well, and it's always been one of my favorites. When you're finished with the games, everything can be disassembled and placed in between the 2 cornhole boards. With the boards locked together, it can now be transported or stored away. Okay, that does it for the outdoor games, but I got another video teed up for you right here. Go check it out, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell button. That lets you know when I drop a new video. And over at penaltyboxwoodshop.com, I got all kinds of plans, tutorials, and apparel. So be sure to go check that out. See you next time.